the moment Alexander had been waiting for. He is only 25 years old. The dust of Gaugamela settled on the remains of the Persian Empire, which was over 300 years old.
The year is 331 BC. We are standing in a dry place, the plains of Gaugamela, which is right in the middle of modern-day Iraq. It feels like nothing is moving, like time has stopped. The world of the Persians and the world of the Greeks are going to collide in a battle. This Battle of Gaugamela is going to be so big and so important that the people who make it through the Battle of Gaugamela will be talking about the Battle of Gaugamela for the rest of their lives. Alexander the Great is a king from Macedonia. He is 25 years old. Now Alexander the Great is standing at the edge of his destiny. People will remember Alexander the Great in history. Tonight Alexander the Great is a man who is really scared. Alexander the Great is scared of being destroyed. The sun has gone down below the horizon. Now the Persian campfires are starting to glow. The Persian campfires are really something to see because they are stretching for miles and miles. It looks like the stars in the sky have come down to earth and are surrounding the people and the Greek people. Alexander the Great and the Greek people are in a spot. The Persian campfires are all around Alexander the Great and the Greek people. Alexander's generals, these men who had been in a lot of battles, were really scared. They were so scared that they asked Alexander to do a surprise attack at night so they could have a chance to win. Alexander looked out at all the fires on the plain. He said, "I do not want to win that way." Then Alexander went to his tent, fell asleep. He slept soundly that his commanders had to wake him up when the sun started to shine. Alexander was not being cocky. Alexander was just ready for Alexander's battle. King Darius III was getting ready for a fight that would take place across the field. He had been planning this fight for months now. King Darius III had learned a lot of things from the time he lost the battle at Issus. King Darius III thought that was a bad loss. This time King Darius III chose the ground where the fight would actually happen. King Darius III wanted to make sure he had the hand in this fight. The earth was made flat at Gaugamela by him. King Darius III had every rock and every single bush removed from the ground. He did this because he wanted the ground to be perfect for the side chariots, which were his weapon, the side chariots. The side chariots were really scary and powerful. They had steel blades that spun around from the wheels of the side chariots. These steel blades were pretty long, 3 feet. The side chariots were made to hurt people. They would cut down the legs of people who were in the way of the side chariots, kind of like when you are cutting wheat with a big machine. Darius was the leader of an army. This army had than 200,000 soldiers. Some historians believe that the number of soldiers was even higher than that. Darius got some more elephants from far away from the edges of India. He also had the immortals, who were the guards of the Persian king. The immortals were very good at their job. Alexander, on the hand, had a much smaller army. Alexander had 47,000 men. If you looked at the numbers, the Greeks were in trouble. The war seemed lost for the Greeks because of the big difference in the number of soldiers between the two armies, the Persian army and the Greek army. The battle was about to begin. Everyone in the world was waiting to see what would happen next. Alexander did something that people are still talking about today. He did not attack the enemy lines on. Instead, Alexander led the companion cavalry to the right side of the battlefield. They moved slowly, at an angle, which was a pretty strange thing to see. The Persians looked at each other, thought that the Greeks were actually leaving the battlefield. Alexander and the companion cavalry were doing something that just did not make sense to the Persians. The whole thing seemed weird to them. Alexander and the companion cavalry kept moving, and the Persians did not know what to do. The companion cavalry kept moving to the right. They were the companion cavalry. They just kept going to the right. The companion cavalry did not stop, they just kept on moving to the right. Darius was really worried that Alexander would attack from the side. So he told his horsemen to go after Alexander. Darius moved his army to the left. This way they were doing the thing as Alexander. The plan was to catch Alexander. For a while the two armies moved slowly across the plain. It was like two big pieces of the earth moving. As the Persian army line got thinner and thinner, a small hole opened up in the middle of the Persian army line. This hole was getting bigger and bigger. Darius and the Persian army were in trouble because of this hole. The Persian army and Darius were trying to catch Alexander, and the Persian army was moving slowly. Alexander was the target. Darius wanted to catch Alexander. The Persian army line was getting weaker and weaker. This hole in the army line was getting a little bigger. It was a gap in the middle of the Persian army line. The Persian army and Darius were in trouble because of this gap in the army line. Darius and the Persian army had a problem now. This was the moment Alexander had been waiting for. Alexander turned his horse fast. Alexander got all of his cavalry together. They made a pointy shape, like a triangle, with Alexander's men on horses all around him. They looked like a diamond with bronze and iron. Alexander and his men shouted loud, so loud that you could not even hear the wind blowing. Then Alexander and his cavalry went into the spot in the Persian line. The air was really bad. It was like a fog that you could not see through. This fog was made of blood and dust. You could hear the screams of horses. Alexander walked through all this mess. He was looking at one thing, the chariot that belonged to Darius. The soldiers from Macedonia were walking behind Alexander. They had spears that were 18 feet long. The golden chariot was what Alexander wanted. These long spears were like a wall of sticks that hurt everything that got in the way of the soldiers from Macedonia and Alexander. Alexander kept looking at the chariot that belonged to Darius. The soldiers who had spears were known as the phalanx. These Macedonian phalanx soldiers were following Alexander. The thing they were after was the golden chariot that belonged to Darius. The Macedonian phalanx soldiers really wanted to get their hands on the golden chariot of Darius. As Alexander's spear got really close, the god king of Persia looked into Alexander's eyes. The god king of Persia saw that Alexander was not afraid to die. The god king of Persia lost his bravery at that moment. Darius turned his chariot around, made his horses run away as fast as they could. Alexander's bravery had an effect on the god king of Persia and on Darius. The god king of Persia, Darius, was running away from Alexander. The Persian Empire did not fall apart just because it did not have people. It fell apart because the Persian Empire was not strong anymore. When people heard that the King of Kings had left, the huge army of the Persian Empire became a bunch of men who were running away because they were scared. The battlefield of Gaugamela was covered in dust. That is where the Persian Empire, which had been around for 300 years, came to an end. The Persian Empire was really gone. Alexander had won the world, but the cost was his youth. From this day forward, there would be no more home, only the endless road east. Gaugamela remains the ultimate testament to the power of a single man's will, a reminder that in the heat of battle, history is not made by numbers, but by the one who refuses to blink.